I'm John Mcsweeney. Mcsweeny's self-defense is a complete personal protection system which enables the average American citizen to defend himself or herself effectively, either with or without a weapon. The system also incorporates a revolutionary bodybuilding method known as tiger moves, which produce a strong, healthy body, reduce blood pressure, and fight the aging process. This program will deal with the armed portion of self-defense. And the weapons we'll be dealing with are the handgun, this is a .45 automatic, .38 special revolver, a smaller variation, the knife, this is a Marine combat knife, this is a pocket knife, a lock blade pocket knife, a Yawara stick, and a club. This is a police club 22 inches long. We're also going to deal with ammunition. My background in weapons is heavy in military experience. I was a gunner in the U.S. Navy in World War II, 20mm gunner on an amphibious ship. I served as a security officer with the United States Air Force for 4 years during the Korean War and did a lot of bodyguard work with heavy emphasis on weapons. I also served 7 years in the active U.S. Army Reserve as an Army infantry captain, so I'm used to firing all types of infantry weapons. My martial arts background consists of a 6-degree black belt in karate. I was the founder of Karate in Ireland in 1963, and I currently star in the cable TV series In Defense of Yourself. Now I'm going to talk about the premise of modern-day gun shooting, which believes in the two-handed grip. You've seen it on the television, you've seen it in the movies. All the heroes hold a weapon with two hands, and they pull the trigger, aiming the sights. This is the stance, aim sights. This premise is wrong. It's fine to take the time and look at the front post of the sight when you're firing at a target. But when someone is actually shooting at you, you won't be able to look at the front sight. What happens when you're threatened, when someone is firing at you, a tachy-psyche effect takes hold in your body, and this produces tunnel vision. This means that you can't see anything but the threat, the person firing at you. So if you want to fire back, you cannot look at a front post. You'll be looking strictly at the threat and firing at it. And unless you're trained in point shooting, you're going to miss. And that's exactly why the police don't hit their targets in gunfights. The police statistics are 1 out of 4 rounds hits, 3 out of 4 miss. The bad guy hits 1 out of 10. So he's even worse in firing. Now, no college would be considered a great college if everybody had a 25% average. So something is wrong then with the present method of shooting. And the method of aim fire is what's wrong. They're translating sport shooting into combat shooting, and there's no correlation. The two-handed method of shooting began in California with Jack Weaver in 1957. And the Weaver stance and variations of it dominate sports shooting, and unfortunately now they dominate police shooting as well. The theory is that you have enough time to look at a front post, hold a weapon with both hands, and pull those rounds off. And you can do it in so many seconds, and you become the tournament champion. And everybody applauds you, and you go home thinking you're a great shot. The policeman does the same thing. He wins medals and trophies. He thinks he's a great shot. Has nothing to do with firing in combat in the street in a dark alley, because then he won't be able to aim that front post. He can't do that. He physically can't do it. All he'll do is look at that target and fire away, and unless he's trained, that muzzle will jump. Now, police statistics are that 50% of all gunfights take place within 5 feet. That's less than 2 yards. 90% of gunfights take place within 5 yards. And yet they train at 15 yards and 25 yards and aim fire. 75% of gunfights take place at night. How do you look at a sight in darkness? You'll be unable to see a sight. This system that we use is called point firing, where we hold the weapon in one hand and look at the target and pull that trigger. We never look at the weapon, never look at the sights. This is a system that's realistic. It goes with the flow. Now I'm going to train you in the point firing method of shooting, which will save your life if you're ever in a self-defense situation with someone shooting at you. I just fired 6 rounds in bursts of 2 at a silhouette target, 5 yards, sensor direction firing. This is merely pointing. The object is simply to hit the target. We're not looking for pinpoint accuracy, but mainly to hit the silhouette at 5 yards. I will now unload the weapon. Unload the weapon by opening the cylinder, turn the muzzle up so the gravity helps you to unload and eject the rounds, the empty rounds. Place the weapon down, keep the muzzle downrange at all times for safety purposes. In loading, take fresh ammunition. Take the weapon in the left hand if you're a right-handed shooter. Keep the muzzle downrange. Now point the muzzle down so that gravity helps you in feeding. And load your rounds. This ammunition that I'm firing is reload ammo. So the shell cases have been used before. It's not as smooth and fitting in the chambers. You put the weapon down, keep the muzzle downrange at all times. I will now fire at 2 targets, putting 1 round at a time in each target, in bursts of 2s. 1 round left, then 1 round right. This demonstrates the swinging from target to target when you have multiple assailants to the front. All 6 rounds hit the target. Again, we're not looking for pinpoint accuracy, but you notice these rounds are in the center of the silhouette. They would hit the human body. Again, in unloading the weapon, I kept the muzzle downrange, ejected the shells, used gravity to help me, and put it down. This demonstrates the simplicity of point firing. It's instinctive. My body is in a boxer's stance. The weapon is held in front of me, under the eyes. The eyes concentrate on the targets. I do not concentrate on the gun at all. The target or my threat is what I concentrate on. If that was someone firing back at me, I look at them and return fire. In this case, all rounds are in the silhouette, basically in the center. As I mentioned earlier, the two-handed method of aimed fire in a Weaver stance or anything like that, which is prevalent today, is based on a wrong premise. And that premise is that there's a direct correlation between sport shooting at targets which don't fire back and combat shooting at someone who's already firing at you. I say there's no correlation because of the tachypsyche effect. Tunnel vision makes you concentrate on the target to the exclusion of everything else, including the front sight. No way at 2 yards and 5 yards, which is the combat ranges. Remember, 50% of handgun fights take place within 3 yards, within 5 feet, 90% within 5 yards. No way are you going to draw a weapon at someone firing at you at 2, 3, and 5 yards away and aim that sight and fire. What you're going to do is draw the weapon and begin firing automatically because your concentration, your vision is on that threat, on that target. As soon as the weapon clears the holster, you'll start to fire. And unless you're trained, the rounds will hit the floor, they'll hit to the side, they'll hit up above. You must be trained in the point firing method so that you'll have automatic reactions, spontaneous reflex action. Because in a combat gunfight, the thinking mind is not in action. The subconscious mind takes over. So the premise of modern day pistol shooting is absolutely wrong, And it's the reason why the police are such miserable shots, hitting only 1 out of 4. What we've got to do is convince people to go with the flow. And the point method is going with the flow, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate right now. In the point method, the first thing is the grip. Have a strong grip on the gun. Make sure that the thumb holds the weapon. Don't have the thumb loose. It holds the weapon. Don't have a death grip, because that locks up the motor nerves. It locks up the muscles. You be too tight, it's no good. But don't be too loose in your grip, or you lose the weapon. Have a good strong grip. Thumb holds the weapon. Now the pull consists of pulling rapidly, like that. You don't want a 2-stage pull where you pull the hammer back with 1 stage and then release it in the 2nd stage. That's used in aimed fire. You pull with the first digit, right here, the joint, right here, the first joint is what you pull with, not the pad. So you get a good grip, get the finger inside the trigger guard, and pull with that joint. Now it's a rapid pull. It's not a slow pull. It's not a squeeze. It's a rapid pull. But you don't jerk the weapon to the side. That will move the muzzle. You won't hit the rounds won't hit. What you want to do then is make sure it's a rapid pull like that. Now, the stance consists from shooting to the front. You step into a boxer stance. As you step in, you draw the weapon and aim the weapon under the eyes. The eyes concentrate on the target. You notice there's a natural alignment now between the gun, my hand, and my forearm. I don't want it turned. There has to be a straight line, gun, hand, forearm. And my body now is in line with that gun. You'll notice that the gun is under my eyes, so that my vision is on the target, but the gun is under those eyes. As I come in, I fire. Now you don't come in and then hold and fire. You begin the trigger pull as soon as you clear the holster, so that the round fires at the moment you're onto target. This is much faster than coming in and then firing, or in the two-handed system, coming in, gripping, aiming, and then firing. That's very slow. This is fast. You fire on the way in. Notice also that I'm a much smaller target. In two-handed shooting, my whole body is exposed to return fire. Here, I've reduced that by turning to the side. So step in and fire rapidly. Now, this is not the stroke. The stroke means that through subconscious reaction, that every time you draw a weapon and point it, you automatically fire. You fire only when there's a threat. If you have to draw a weapon and you don't need to fire, hold your fire. Aim at the person, but don't fire. For instance, in a burglary attempt, you don't fire at someone unless you're certain that there's an imminent danger to your life. And you know that if someone is firing at you, or if someone is coming at you with a knife and they refuse to stop even though armed with a gun. If you tell them to stop and they keep coming, you may have to fire. So don't use the stroke system, which is you always fire as soon as you draw. What you do is draw rapidly, point, and if you then fire, because you're getting fire back at you, you fire on the way up. Now if you fire to one or more opponents in front, such as two opponents, you fire to one and then to the other. So this is called the swing. Now when we swing, we fire at the first target and we swing on to the second. Now during the swing we fire. So the round goes off when the muzzle is in line with the target. Don't swing and then fire, that's slow. Step in, fire, and fire. If we want to fire to the sides, we can swing 90 degrees to the left or 90 degrees to the right. You'll notice when we swing, it's rapid. We don't do a full arc. We pull the arm back, cut the arc, like this. It's one fluid move. From here to the right, instead of a wide arc, we pull the arm back, cut the arc, and fire. Again, one fluid move. If I want to fire to my right rear, I simply turn and fire. If I want to fire directly to the rear, I pivot and fire. In this, I don't make a wide arc. I pull the arm back, cut the arc, and fire. Now I can turn and fire all the way to here. From here, I can fire to the same point. So I can cover with this system 360-degree circle without moving my body, without moving my leg. All I do is pivot on the ball of the foot and pivot from the waist. In two-handed firing, I can fire to the front, I can fire to the sides, but it's a wide arc and awkward. I can fire to this side, but no way can I fire behind me. The only way I can fire behind me is to step and pivot in a wide arc. Very slow, very poor method of shooting. This method then allows you to step in and fire to another target, fire here, swing to the rear, and back here. You can cover a full 360 degrees with this method of firing. In the draw, it's important, when you practice the draw, never have the weapon loaded. There's no need to have a loaded weapon in draw practice. Drawing is simply a mechanical act to get the weapon out in front of you, to present it for firing. So draw with an unloaded weapon. When you draw for the real thing, you'll go through the same mechanical act, get out in front of you, and then the round will go off when needed. In drawing, reach back, unhook the button on the holster, draw, put your finger in the trigger guard on the way out. Don't wait and put it in, that's too slow. You must put the trigger finger in during the draw, come forward and fire. Now this again, firing to the front, multiple targets, 1 and 2. If there's one target, I train you, as I did in the live firing earlier, 2 rounds at a time, 1, 2. If there's just one target, always bursts of 2 when someone is firing at you. If there are 2 people, you fire to the left and center, again and back. So it's 1, 2, 2, 1. If there are 3 targets, you'd fire 1, 2, 3, and then back again, 1, 2, 3. Now, if there were 3 targets, you'd fire to the center if he was closest. Always fire at the closest target, the one who's the most threat or the one firing at you. But if all 3 are equal, start from the left, fire once, fire center, fire to the right. Now, fire at someone you missed. For instance, if this person is coming in, turn and fire. If this is coming in, fire. If this person is coming in, give another round here and then back it in. The principle is give each of the multiple targets at least 1 round, and then the second round to the closest threat. If it's 1 target, remember it's always 2 rounds, rapidly. This is the point method of firing. Train regularly with this, and this will save your life in an actual combat situation. In my system of point firing, mirror training is a key element. Hold the weapon at your side, step in and fire. Aim at the center, where my hand is. Step in and fire. Notice if the weapon is pointing high or pointing low, left or right, and adjust accordingly. If you come in always firing high when you're aiming at the center, bring it down. The mirror will show you where you're firing. If you're coming in low, bring it up. Get to the point with constant practice, 15 minutes of practice at a time, until you can point that weapon exactly where you want. In this case, at the center, right here. You point the weapon. So come in to the stance and point. Notice how the stance is natural alignment. My eyes are right above the weapon itself. From here, I step in and fire. Begin trigger pull on the way in. Don't step in and then fire. That's slow. Begin the trigger pull. As soon as the muzzle is forward of your own body, the trigger starts to pull, and the round fires at the moment you're on to target. Practice that, stepping straight in, firing to the center. After a while, fire high to the head. Notice that the muzzle should be pointing at the head. Then practice firing low, above the knee. See that the muzzle is pointing down. You'll get used then to alignment of the muzzle with your eyes. By concentrating on the target, the hand and the gun become an extension of the eyes. The key is to concentrate on that target. In Zen archery, they say that the target itself will draw your weapon, will draw the arrow from the weapon. So here it's almost like Zen shooting. The target itself draws the bullet if you concentrate your gaze on that target. If I concentrate on my own forehead, that muzzle will point there. If I concentrate here, the muzzle will point there. If I concentrate low, the muzzle will point there. Again, see if you're firing left or right or dead on. So from this training in the mirror, you begin to see where the muzzle points relative to where you look. To fire to the sides for multiple targets, a target here and here, you begin your swing. You fire to the front, then swing onto the target to the side and fire. Again, don't swing and then pull. Begin the pull during the swing so that when the swing stops, the round fires. So fire and then swing. If you're firing to one target in front, always 2 rounds. If it's multiple targets, this target 1 round, this target the second, and then another, and back to this. If it's 3 targets, firing left, center, and right, fire left, center, right, then back it in. Right, center, left. Remember now, this is point firing. 75% of all gunfights take place in dark. So you couldn't aim the sights anyway. And the tachypsyche effect means that you can't look at your front post if someone is at close range, 3 yards, 5 yards away, and actually firing at you. The only thing you can do is train yourself to react automatically. If someone is firing at you, you step in, that closes the range to the target. It also turns your body to the side, become a smaller target, and fire immediately. Fire 2 rounds. If there are 2 people, fire here, here, back again. Mirror training then should be practiced regularly, once a week, 15 minutes at a time. Then as you catch on to it and you do your range firing once a month, once every 2 months, 50 to 100 rounds at a time for the first year. After that, you can start to do mirror training maybe once a month for 15 minutes, live range firing twice a year. Again, mirror training consists of concentrating the gaze on the target, in this case the center, step in and fire. Check the angle of that muzzle, left or right, up or down, until it's always lined properly. You can see it in the mirror. That's the advantage of mirror training. Then practice from here, swinging to the right, firing, swinging to the left and firing. Always bursts of 2, here, 2, and back. That's the essence of mirror training. I'm going to cover the basics of cleaning the weapon. You can get more detailed information from any gun store. You can buy books on gun cleaning. The basic thing is clean the weapon right after you fire it. Use a solvent, a cleaning solvent. This happens to be Hoppy's number 9. Dip a cotton swab in the solvent, run it through the barrel, run it through the chambers in the cylinder. Run it through many times so it comes out relatively clean. Then use a brass brush, dip it in the solvent, and work the brush in and out through the barrel to clear away the lead and the copper. Do the same with the chambers in the cylinder. Again, more patches, more solvent. Keep cleaning until these patches come out clean. Then clean every part of the weapon. Use the solvent to get into all the cracks, the firing pin area, the cylinder release area, the hammer area. Go everywhere that there's powder residue. Clean the weapon thoroughly, then dry it off and clean it again from fingerprints with a rag that's been soaked in a solvent. Now don't spray your gun with any one of those cleaning compounds that are spray oils, because they'll tend to gum up the weapon. If you have the gun heavily oiled, it attracts grime and grit, and it's bad for the weapon. In fact, sometimes the weapon won't fire properly, it won't have enough power in the spring from all the grime that's collected from the oil deposits. Keep the weapon dry. Always keep a residue of solvent in the barrel and dry it off with a cloth, which relieves a slight residue on all the metal surface of solvent. Now repeat the cleaning pattern 3 days after you fire, and then another 7 days after that, to give the barrel time to sweat out the lead and copper. If you don't clean a weapon, it'll rust and corrode. The barrel will pit, the frame will rust. So remember, before storing a weapon, always clean it. Make sure you leave a solvent in the barrel, and then clean off all fingerprints with a solvent-soaked rag. Now when you store the weapon, you have to decide whether you want to store it loaded or unloaded. If there are children in the home, this is a very important consideration. I would recommend that if you store a weapon with children in the home, you store it unloaded. Put it in a briefcase, put it in a luggage on top of a closet where the children can't get at it. Keep the ammunition separate, also in a high spot where they can't get at it. The one problem, though, with storing a weapon unloaded is if you need it in an emergency, you have to find the ammo, and you may be confused and not find the ammo quickly enough. If you do store it loaded with children in the home, you're taking a big risk, So act accordingly. Figure out the best place where they couldn't get at it. You can store ammo for a long time. I've fired recently ammunition from World War II, 45 ammo. Ammunition can be stored in a dry place for 30, 40, 50, 60 years and still fire. It's important, though, you keep it in a dry place. Now, types of ammunition that we use, the 45 here is a 230 grain metal-cased slug. It comes out at a relatively slow muzzle velocity, but has good hitting power, knockdown power, because of the size and shape of the slug. The 38 special rounds here are jacketed hollow point and a wad cutter. I recommend a wad cutter for practice and a jacketed hollow point for carrying. This is a hollow point in the lead surrounded by a copper jacket. It's 125 grain, has plus P ammunition, which gives it more punch. Now, you should also fire this occasionally so you get used to the recoil from it, since it has a bigger kick than the wad cutter. I don't like Magnum rounds. The problem with a Magnum round is, such as a 357 Magnum, a 41 Magnum, or a 44 Magnum, the muzzle flash, the muzzle blast, and the recoil. Those are the three problems. If you fire at night, and remember 75% of combat shooting is at night, you'll be blinded by the muzzle flash from a Magnum round. For 10 to 30 seconds, you won't see a thing. The muzzle blast will deafen your ears, and remember, in a combat situation, you won't be wearing ear protection. For 60 seconds, you won't hear anything, perhaps 2 minutes from the blast. And if you're inside a closed space, such as an automobile or a small room, you could deafen your ears permanently. Also, the recoil is excessive. It slows down recovery time for that second shot. So I don't like those Magnum rounds. You'll see all the movies with Dirty Harry and his 44 Magnum, the big cannon. He fires it, the gun kicks up 2 feet in the air, and he comes down, tracks his target, sights in carefully, and fires again. That's fine if no one's firing at Dirty Harry. But gunfights take place in 2 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards maximum. 90% of the action, again, is within 5 yards in a gunfight. And no Dirty Harry at 3 yards range with someone shooting at him is going to take his big old 44 Magnum, 2 hands on it, look at that front post, and fire away. He's going to fire like this as the round clears the holster, and he'll probably break his wrist from the recoil of that 44 Magnum. Very dangerous for the average person to even play with Magnum rounds. They're no good for self-defense for the reasons I just gave you. Avoid a Magnum gun like the plague. Stay with a 45 automatic, speed of reloading, reliability, good knockdown power. For average citizen self-defense, for men and women, I prefer the 38 Special revolver as a self-defense weapon because of its simplicity of function, its reliability, and there's no safety to worry about. The weapon, once loaded, you simply pick it up, it's ready to go, you pull that trigger and she fires. In an emergency, you may forget to release the safety on an automatic. Another thing about a revolver, it doesn't jam the way an automatic can jam. You learn the best method of firing a handgun for self-defense purposes. Now, you have to practice on a regular basis if you're going to develop and maintain proficiency. In the beginning, practice at least once a month, fire 100 rounds on a range once a month, and do mirror training at least once a week. After you've fired a few thousand rounds, I recommend you fire at least twice a year, 50 to 100 rounds on a range, and do mirror training for a half an hour at least once a month. This will maintain your proficiency. The system is very simple. Remember, we're not talking about two-handed aim fire and pinpoint accuracy. We're treating the handgun as a one-handed weapon, which is what it was designed for. We're talking about gross accuracy, the ability to hit a target at close range, within 5 yards, with rapid fire, reflex action. This is a 3-inch lock blade pocket knife. It's small, but it's very useful if your life is on the line. It opens up a blade under 3 inches. You hold the blade in a strong grip. The thumb supports the grip. Don't have the thumb loose along the top of the blade. Then the hand is weak. Laterally, no support. Support it with the thumb. Fight off the same foot with the same hand. Right foot, right hand. Don't use a reverse hand because you have limited range, you have minimal control over anyone coming in. Fighting off the right foot, right hand, I can now do circle cuts. So if anyone comes in at me, I can cut his hand or wrist with these circles. I can also protect my face and throat with my other hand. So these circles are effective. From the circles, I can go from a circle to a thrust. Circling and then thrusting in. Now the thrust, use the palm up, you have a tighter grip, more control. Don't have the palm this way with the blade pointing down. You have weak control. It's an unnatural move. Always thrust with the palm up, in and out. You circle, then thrust. You can also cut, slashing, like this. When you cut, turn the wrist. When you reverse the cut, turn the wrist the other way. The object is to cut with maximum cutting surface. So turn the wrist and cut, come back and turn the wrist. You can also cut in a wide cut if someone rushes you, come back and cut and reverse cut. Your target would be the neck and the face. Don't go for the body with a small knife like this. In the thrust, target is the throat, eye socket. Remember, we're talking about fighting to protect our lives. A woman to protect herself against rape. That's what a knife is all about. To fight only when you have to protect your own life. So in this cut, we come back, cut, cut again. Now I'll demonstrate these same cuts with a Marine combat knife as is larger and gives you a better picture for demonstration purposes. Same grip, good strong grip, the thumb supports the grip. Don't have the thumb on top of the blade. When you thrust, thrust with the palm up for control, not with the blade pointing down. It's an awkward move, you lose control. This is much stronger grip, much stronger thrust. Now you can thrust to the body. In the small knife, I said cut only the face, neck, open skin. You're going for arteries in the face, arteries in the neck. The object is to make somebody bleed so they run from you. They don't fight you. Remember, most people that fight with a knife go against unarmed people, so they're cowards to begin with. If you have a knife and fight back, your very will to fight will probably make them run away. And if you have some skill at all, you'll be able to cut them. You cut them once, they'll take off. Most knife fighters want to come upon a victim who's unarmed. So this system I'm going to teach you is very simple. Practice with it, you can get it down in no time. All you do is have a good grip, come in, fight the same hand, same foot. Fight from the front. If I fought this way, the way some people teach you, you don't have the same range forward, I can't shuffle in properly, and I can't protect myself at this side. Anyone can cut me from here. This way I can do a full circle of defense to protect myself to the front, to the side, to this side. From the circle, I can come in and thrust. So I'm cutting his hand or wrist, then I thrust to the body, to the face, to the throat. Circle and thrust. I can slash. Again, when I slash, turn that blade for maximum cutting surface. Then come back and reverse and cut that blade. You're cutting to the face, the neck. You can do circles and then cuts. Wide cuts, if someone rushes me, I can step back and cut, then reverse cut. Going again to the neck, face area. I come in slow motion, I cut, turn that blade for maximum cutting, come back to here, reverse, turn the blade, turn my wrist for maximum cutting. So in speed it's... The knife is a very good weapon in self-defense. Women have them in their kitchens. If they're prepared to use them, they can defend their household with a kitchen knife. The movements are simple. Straight thrust, in and out. Fight off the same foot, same hand. Circle movements to cut the hands, also to block. And slashes against the face, the neck, thrust to the body, cut open skin. Work regularly, practice with the knife. All you need to do is practice maybe 10 minutes once a week, and you'll be able to be proficient in knife fighting. The Yawara stick is a martial arts weapon which was originally made of wood. It's now made of steel with a steel shaft and rounded points. It also has a leather grip. It's useful for slashing to the sides. Targets would be the side of the head, front of the head, sternum area. When you grip it, you have a tight grip on it. Not a death grip, but not a loose grip. Good tight grip. When you strike, you're hitting with this point into here. It's this heavy metal weight that does the damage, plus the fact that it's pointed. It's not pointed like a knife for penetration, it's a blunt point, but it stuns and it gives maximum impact when it hits a target, especially a target of bone. So the targets would be the bone of the chest and the head. You swing to the side, hitting with this point, then backing with this point. You can thrust to the front. Again, the palm is up when you thrust for better control. You're hitting with this point to somebody's head, any area of the face, forehead. You can circle. The circle shots would be to the head, clavicle, sternum area. Here, here, the head. So you circle, wide circles, small circles. From a circle shot, you can do a straight thrust to the head. From here, you can do a sideways slash to the body. If someone were here, hitting his body, the sternum area, the head. Backing into someone here, so you can swing from side to side. You can circle down, coming down here on the clavicle, coming down on the head, thrusting into the face, thrusting to the body, side slash, straight thrust, circles. You can also do an up circle. The up circle is to the chin, to the ribs, bladder, groin area. Coming in with the point, coming up. So we can go from circles down, circles up, side slashes, straight thrust. Those are the movements of the Yawara. Club is a bludgeon-type weapon which can be used for thrusts or for slashes. This is a police baton, 22 inches long. In thrusting, use a two-handed grip. If you're fighting from the right side, left foot is forward. This is for better control and balance. You wouldn't put the right foot forward and fight with the right side. You're weak. No power, no control. Left foot forward when fighting with the right side. Grip to the front and the rear. Thrust straight in. This is a thrust, solar plexus, face. To the sides, you can thrust with the back of the club or with the front. So you can thrust to the front, to the side, or to this side. Always grip with two hands when working the thrust. One hand is weak this way or this way. You'll get fishtail. When using it for slashing movements, always work with one hand only. For instance, you can slash and step back, cutting like this. You can cut straight. You can do figure eights. Hitting clavicle, head, chest. Figure eights. side slashes. One good tactic with the club is to hold it back, keep the hand up, look as if you're going to hit high. What you do actually is drop your body and hit low. You're hitting the shin bone, knee bone. People expect you to hit high. Instead, drop low, protect your face with your front hand. The left hand protects you. Drop low and hit. Again. Now, the club is illegal, but the mag flashlight is legal. So learn how to work with a mag flashlight, carry them with you in your car if needed. Use it just like a club. Two-handed grip for front thrusts or side thrusts. One-handed grip for slashing. Those are the movements of the club. I developed a physical culture system known as Tiger Moves. It consists of 3 separate movements done with great tension. Stretching in the barrel squeeze, the shoulder roll, and the wrist twist. All these movements are done with great tension. When I studied Kung Fu, I learned exercise methods with tension I like these methods, but there was no full movement. There was no full expansion and contraction of the entire muscle structure. So from these movements, I developed my Tiger Moves. The barrel squeeze is performed with the hands open, coming back as you breathe in, stretching the muscles of the chest and the back, breathing out, forward. Notice the tension, great tension. I'm locked to the ground. Exhale as I come forward, the hands almost touch. Do it with me. Breathe in as the arms come back with tension. Flex the back muscles, come forward with great tension. The legs are locked to the ground. Notice there's a full expansion and contraction of the opposing muscle structure. These Tiger Moves fight the aging process because they increase blood flow to peripheral areas of the body. Again, back with tension, forward with tension. We're flexing the pectoral muscles, the back muscles, the arms, the legs, the stomach are flexed isometrically. The isotonic movement is the arms themselves. So do it with me. Inhale on the way back. Exhale forward. Use great tension. Stretch with tension. I'll show you the second movement called the shoulder roll. It consists of coming back, rolling the shoulders forward, hands and fists till the arms cross. I'm working the deltoid muscles of the upper arm. These are the shoulder muscles. Inhale on the way back. Flex the back muscles. Exhale forward. Inhale back. Exhale forward. Now use great tension as you move. The body is locked to the ground. Stomach is flexed. Legs are flexed. They're isometric. The isotonic movement is the upper body. Rolling back, those shoulders, rolling forward to develop the upper body. These are used in such strikes as the upswing, circle, chop. So the shoulder is very important in my karate method, and the muscles of the shoulder are needed to develop the power of these strikes. And it comes from this Tiger Move, stretching with great tension, forward, coming back as you inhale. Do it with me. coming forward as you exhale. Great tension, full expansion and contraction of the entire muscle structure. This will keep you physically fit through life. Now the movement today is the wrist twist. In a stance, right foot forward, flex the arms back, fists, palms out, roll forward until the wrists turn and the knuckles face each other. Stretch with great tension. Come back as you inhale. Exhale as you go forward. Now these movements develop the entire body, but this one specifically, the triceps, the upper arm, this area right here. It will develop the strength that's used in such strikes as the heel palm. Any straight line strike develops power, and the power comes from the triceps muscle. So we come back, come forward as we exhale, inhale back, stretching with great tension. Do them with me. Lock the feet to the ground, flex the stomach, the legs are locked to the ground, and the stomach is flexed isometrically. The only isotonic movement is the upper body, concentrating the power in the arms, the upper arms. Again, this area, the triceps muscles up here. So do it with me. Exhale forward. Inhale back. Flex the back muscles. And again, concentrate on the triceps area, right here. Work that triceps. Again, inhale back, exhale forward, stretch with great tension throughout the entire movement. Complete movement, complete expansion and contraction of the entire muscle structure. Now these tiger moves fight the aging process. They increase blood flow to peripheral areas of the body. They thus reduce blood pressure. Do these tiger moves every day for 5 to 10 minutes and you'll keep in great shape. You don't have to do any weightlifting. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to run. In your own room, you can do these tiger moves. The barrel squeeze, the shoulder roll, and the wrist twist. These moves alone will keep you physically fit and develop a powerful muscle structure. Thank you. Now you should practice these techniques on a regular basis. In a combat situation, you want to train your motor nerves to react, spontaneous response. You don't want to freeze up. The worst thing that can happen to you is if you have to use a handgun because someone is shooting at you, you freeze up and forget to shoot back. Now this has happened to police officers. In the shock of actual combat, they've stared at the target and didn't fire back. Proper training, high repetition of the techniques will overcome that, will train your motor nerves. Now what we taught you is very simple. It's as simple as pointing your finger to use this method of firing a handgun. You simply look at the target and fire back. Some people don't feel comfortable about using a gun, or there may be times when you need to defend yourself and there'll be no gun at hand. That's why we trained you in 3 other weapons. Now the club can be substituted with a mag flashlight, which you can carry in your car legally. You can carry a pocket knife on your person. A 3-inch lock blade pocket knife is legal. And you can carry a Yawara stick. It's a very small weapon. Carry it in your pocket or in a purse. Now you should practice with these weapons regularly. At least 5 minutes each weapon, once a week for the first year, and after that at least 5 minutes once a month. Remember, the moves were very simple. With the knife, we taught you how to slash and how to thrust. With the club and Yawara stick, we also taught you slashes and thrusts. Remember, practice regularly with these weapons to develop that reflex action, which is necessary in a combat situation. There's no time to think under stress. You must react automatically. Spontaneous reflex action is what you're looking for. Now, if you have any questions, write to me at the address given at the end of the program. Thank you.